scorecard for Arizona. What was going on in 2020? What was going on in 2018? We'll start with that. Then 2020, look at that. You got no rank choice voting, registration managed locally. So you have some good things, you have some bad things going on. Their score actually went up. Why? Because they got state reps and different things to do some good things and pass some legislation, right? Well, you like to hear from one of them at least, or a couple of them now?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shelby Busch and Mark Finchem.
All right, Shelby Busch and Mark Finchem. Mark and I are longtime friends. We've done a lot of television together, and you, of course, have been in the state legislature. Shelly, give us your background.
Sure. So I'm co-founder of We the People AZ Alliance. Myself and my partner have been working on election integrity stuff since back in 2015, before most people knew it existed. So I run that organization, and I'm also first vice chair of Maricopa County GOP.
Right. You've got the controller there, so you can control the PowerPoint, and give us a hope report. I mean, where your score went down and then it went back up in as of today, 2023. So you're doing some good stuff. You got a good report, I guess, huh?
Well, legislatively, it's
so Bart says.
Yeah, so. But I will tell you, the one good thing we had is our legislative branch, both the Senate and the House, has been having election integrity committees. They've been allowing us to get the evidence out before the people, so people from all over have been discussing that, and it educates the people, puts it on the record, and lets our legislators know what's happening. Alex Colodin, a representative in Arizona in our House, he actually opened an exploratory investigation into run-back election services. Mm-hmm. It is time that we begin to fight back against these private contractors that are actually running these fraudulent elections and then hiding undercover because they're corporations.
Yes.
So
which
that's
makes it hard to get information and data because they're private corporations, right?
Oh, absolutely. The PRR laws, they believe don't apply to them.
Yes.
And so that needs to be settled once and for all. Both chambers, the Senate and the House, passed Senate Concurrent Resolution 1037, which stated that critical infrastructure should not be ran with equipment made in foreign countries. So we don't know where that's going to go, but it's hope. It is hope to start calling attention to those things. We have a Rhino establishment, Senator Ken Bennett, who tried to codify some fraudulent stuff in signature verification, and Alex Colodin was able to block that. So that's a huge one. Republican legislators continued to pass election integrity bills, even though they knew our usurper in the governor's office was going to veto it. But they're still fighting, and we're still fighting with them. So I think that's huge hope.
Well, of course, we know about all the mess in Maricopa County, right, Mark?
Yeah.
And even with all that mess going on, you guys are making progress. Would you have a feeling for the next election cycle?
Well, there's a couple of things if you want to advance the next slide. Past performance is always a predictor of future outcomes. We do not have litigation resolved even yet with Kerry Lake and Hobbs. Unfortunately, the case that I brought was dismissed. You're over the target though when they sanction you for everything.
Right.
So this is to be the third case that I've been sanctioned for simply standing up and using my First Amendment right. So we can't rely on the courts for anything. I think one of the cases that is probably, two of them. One is Abe Hamaday's case. If Abe is getting a new trial, that sets the stage for the introduction of all the garbage that we have found, including the use of uncertified software, which, by the way, Katie Hobbs was responsible for certifying. Let's not let that get past us. So it's really apropos at this point. How about you got to prove it now, okay? We have the proofs in place. We've got to get them into court. The other one that is, I think, remarkable is a case out of Cochise County. Ladies and gentlemen, they do not want anyone to look at paper ballots and compare those to machines. They have spent tons of money and hours of time trying to block the people's access to see ballots that belong to the people.
Right.
Okay? So, do I have hope for the next election? Yeah, there's a couple of projects. In fact, we, the people of Arizona, and the Election Fairness Institute, both of us are working on something very tangential, and that is to identify what are called phantom voters. These are the folks that if you try to match them to an address, you're not going to be able to cure them because they don't exist. They've been moved around, shuffled around, and, you know, for the left to say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. No, actually, we are now going to coin a new term. It's called fraud deniers. Fact deniers. We have the facts, as Steve Bannon would say, we've got the receipts. Now it's just a case of making sure that when those ballots come in, we force curing of people that we know darn well they're not going to be able to find. So I am very hopeful that the next election will be better. What I want to be very careful though, this is not hopium. We can only move the dial a click or two in the right way. We're not going to solve the entire problem in 1 year. It's just not going to happen. But if we can tamp down the amount of fraudulent behavior, and I'm not talking about irregularities, I'm talking about outright fraud. If we can tamp that down, we at least begin to level the playing field.
All right, do we have another slide?
Sure, yeah. As far as lawfare and hope, there are multiple lawsuits. Kerry Lake is one we've worked on. People need to realize that even though it hasn't won, it is still an active election challenge. And it was a huge victory. We've had 3 court trials where we've been able to present evidence in the Kerry Lake case. It got denied by one judge, sent to the Supreme Court, and then remanded back to the lower court to be heard again. And when the corrupt Republican county attorney tried to have us sanctioned, the judge said this case had merit and refused sanctions. That's a huge victory. Second to that, we have multiple cases going on in Arizona. And one of the cases, my co-founder and I at We the People, we're being countersued now by the Secretary of State because they said, wait, they want these things that we believe we should give them and we know we need to, but we're understaffed and we told them, how dare they sue us? So now they're suing us for sanctions, fines, and penalties for going after public records. We have had 11 judges recuse themselves in the matter of Runbeck. So we are suing Runbeck Election Services, and we can't even get a trial. What does that tell you guys? The judiciary system is finally running scared, and we're going to keep that pressure on. We're going to keep these lawsuits moving, and we're going to expose it, one judge after another. So,
excellent. Let's go to the next slide, because we have now another one here. We now know that the Carrie Hobbs did not certify the software that was actually used for the election in 2022. Speak to us about this, one of you.
Well, that tells you if it wasn't certified, the election can't be certified.
Correct.
Yet it was certified. It's a software that was not approved for running that election. Now, We the People had to find that. The Arizona Secretary of State, Arizona Governor, Maricopa County didn't disclose that. It was found by an inspection of the logs. So now you go to court. That's why I think it's really important that Abe's case makes it back into a trial. And I think with the pressure that's building, that is the one thing that they can hang their hat on and say this is not a legal election and should be overturned and reheld.
Let's go to the next slide. We have SCR-1037 that requires all the machines meet Department of Defense security standards. And you got a lot of other list of things you're working on there, correct?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Like I say, we're a bit of a hot mess, but we've got some really strong advocates for the people in the legislature. Senator Borelli, Republican Senator, Majority Leader in the Senate, and then we've got Representative Leo Biasucci, who's the Majority Leader in the House. Both of them have been pushing legislation. Now, SCR 1037 is, some would say it's a novel concept. I think the Constitution actually matters. Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1 of the Constitution reserves, didn't award. The legislators in that day have reached across time to the legislatures of today to say, you are responsible to choose the time, place, and manner for federal offices. There is no mention of the executive branch or the judicial branch. Now, of course, the U.S. Supreme Court spoke to a part of that issue in North Carolina, but that had to do with redistricting. It did not have to do with the actual naming of time, place, and manner. So SCR 1037 simply requires that if you're going to use equipment, it has to meet DoD security standards, just like equipment that's used in a fighter jet.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the next slide real quick. We're not going to have time to discuss these, but it will show you that there are things being done. There's progress. There's hope there in Arizona. So that's excellent. I want to thank both of you.
Thank you.
Can I say something in
Yes,
closing?
absolutely.
One more hope thing. There is hope. We will take the Republican Party back. I have Chairman Craig Berlin, who just took over Maricopa County Republican Committee, and we are fighting against the state right now for election integrity. So fight, use your precinct strategies, and there will be hope.
Thank you, guys. Mark Finchem and Shelby Busch from Arizona.